it wasn't until I started making the turn that I recognized there's a truck barreling towards me and we're going to connect. I thought I was dead. And suddenly I noticed there's entities in the vehicle with me.
I want to welcome everybody back to another episode of The Soul Inspired. Today we have Michelle Wincell O'Leary with us. She's had what I would call a near-death experience or a near-death like experience, maybe an out-of-body experience, a little bit different, a little bit of a hybrid. But we will dig into what's happened. And I think there's multiple times you've had these. So, first of all, thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. It's great. Thank you, Joe.
I try to go back to little Michelle, your
Oh,
childhood, because I try to
hmm
find out just a little bit about maybe belief systems, religious upbringings, or spiritual upbringings, things like that. Just trying to get
hmm
a little brief overview of who you were growing up.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. In my very, very early life, I was raised by four women, my mother, my grandmother, my godmother, and my great grandmother. My father was not around. So four lovely women, entertainers and sparkling ladies, really nice. Shortly thereafter, my mom remarried, and that individual, now who I call dad, when I was younger, came from a very harsh background. And so I would say he scared my spirit right out of my body. I was very young at the time. And
Wow.
so I started having experiences very young because I felt very alone. My mother sort of gave over discipline to him and he scared me. And so I went inside. Yeah. So I used to have ongoing dreams of a graveyard scene, and I would engage in the graveyard and like meet other entities in the graveyard, and they sort of became my friends.
Oh,
So that was just sort of an interesting, experience. And I heard entities in my house at night when it's dark. I remember hearing wine glasses like clink in the night. And I was like, oh, somebody's here celebrating. Like, this is a little girl. I don't know what it is, but like, I'm like, somebody's here with me and it feels good. It doesn't scare me. That feels good to know there's somebody else around. So,
wow.
and I could go on and on. I've spiritually been searching inside since I lost my spirit, really, and kind of reconnected then in my adulthood to like more fully embody that now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it started very young.
So
hmm
that's really fascinating. So was this happening while you were, so did these, before I ask what happened with when it kind of really
hmm
happened, when
hmm
these little ones were happening, was that only during sleep time, like during the night when you were sleeping, or would it happen kind of awake, napping? Like, do you recall when these moments would happen at all?
The sort of escape into the dream world and the
Mhm.
hearing of other entities was mostly at night. I think because I was entertained, like I could get out of the house, go down the street and play with friends. I'm engaged in other things during the day. But at
Mm-hmm.
night, it's like the three of us in this house, and I just want to go to my room and shut the door and go in my own little world.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the idea of this, like the spirit world, whether we talk, say the word ghosts or supernatural, whatever it was, spirit, it didn't frighten you. It was welcoming to you.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that continue through adolescence, like teenage years when things get really wild for a while up until adulthood? Or did you kind of leave it for a while?
No, it really was more when I was littler and didn't really have much of a voice.
Hmm.
As I developed, my voice developed,
Hmm.
and I stood up for myself because at that point, it's like, what are you going to do? Right? Like, I'm going to use my voice to push you away. That's what's going to happen. And that's what I did. And I just made him mad.
Mm.
I was just a very defiant and oppositional young adult or adolescent.
Right.
So
Right.
we just argued. It just got loud.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just used my voice.
So you found your
Hmm.
voice and growing into a young woman, became this young woman. When did the first main incident happen where, because we talked about, I think it was like a in regards to a vehicle. I don't know what happened, but maybe let's dig
Yeah.
into when that was and how this happened. Mhm.
Could I back up to one other thing that it might be interesting for you to hear about?
Absolutely. If it, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
so I mentioned that my dad, my real dad, if you want to call it that, wasn't around in my life.
Hmm.
And when I was 13, I asked my mom, I said, I have a question because nobody talked about anything in my family. So no one ever talked about him really. Um, and I said, I just would like to know about him. I'm 13. I'm curious. Like I have him on this pedestal of someday. And she said, I cannot believe you asked me about that today. And I'm like, why? She said, why don't you sit down? I'm like, okay. The lawyers just called this morning. Actually, your father's no longer with us. All the lawyers told me, per the family, is that.
Hmm.
So my mother found this out in the morning. I happened to, in 13 years of my life, finally ask about him on that day. So now I'm going to fast forward to my early 20s, and I would go to these alternative churches, drumming and, you know, altars and I don't know, the seasons and, not sermons, not religion, more of like spiritual
Hmm.
places.
Hmm.
And in the meditations, I was still a little rebellious. So I would join the meditations. And then when I'm ready, I take off and do my own thing. Everyone else is doing whatever they're doing, but I'm in my head somewhere else. This day, I'm underwater, like swimming around in the ocean. I don't know why. It's just where I was. All of a sudden, I see this entity and I got scared a little bit. So I started going to the surface and I look back and I'm like, that's my dad. Like my real dad is underwater right now. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you got
Wow.
to go back. You got to go back. I went back down. We embraced for the first time, like in my life that I can remember underwater in this meditative experience. And I've had more contact with him since. I know how he died. I've experienced how it felt because he showed me, which was terrifying and
Hmm.
extremely desperate. Um, so anyway, I just wanted to put that in there because those kind of experiences are things that were very important in my life too.
Wow. So that was,
Yeah.
you said at age, how old were you? 13?
I was 13 when I found out that and I was in my early 20s when I was in a church meditating and finally met him in this meditative experience.
So in the meditative experience, you have a spiritual encounter with just with your father who'd passed.
Yeah.
I'm just doing this in my own curiosity. Did you have the feeling, or have you since, with the communication you've had with him, get the understanding that he's okay now, even
Yeah.
though with the way
Absolutely.
that it happened?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And did you get an understanding as to why it led to that?
Well, I asked him two questions in a different meditation, and one of them was, how did it happen? And what I heard was, it was a gun. It was a gun. It was a gun. It was a gun.
Mhm.
I'm like, makes sense. It's the most common way that it happened in those days. And then I was just, why? Like, why did you do that? And what happened is he embodied that emotion for me to experience. I had an immediate
Mhm.
breakdown. And it was like, oh, got it. Yep, I get it. Like that was
Okay.
horrific experience. And I was like, okay, be careful what you ask for.
Right.
You might get it. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'll ever ask anybody that again because I don't really need to embody that. Now I know.
And this is where like I relate a lot because I consider myself an empath. I feel people's emotions, and then I'm getting to a point in my life now where I'll actually bring it up and talk to people, and because I used to feel like, oh, I'm in being intrusive, but just kind of like this check to proceed thing I do and just see how people feel. But the reason I bring that up is because it feels like you embodied almost like an empath type feeling of his experience of what he was experiencing before the end of his life. So that unfortunately, it probably brings comfort into knowing why it happened, but also it's sad to know that he'd gone through that. Now, you didn't have a relationship with him from what you said, right? Through your whole life?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no.
Interesting. No, I'm glad that you
Hmm.
shared that one because that a lot of times I think one of the reasons why I ask about the childhood and then going into adolescence is because there's a lot of pivotal things that happen there that will influence us as we then continue on in our adulthood, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so you had that big this big shift that was happening where you're really like a seeker. You're trying to seek all this stuff and you're going through these changes, you're going through meditative and wow, like you've had strong meditations then so early. A
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
people it takes a long time to kind of get to that place, you know what I mean? So,
Hmm. I've always been very, very visual,
well,
very
yeah.
experiential. Hmm.
I had one past life regression one time, and the guy afterwards, he said to me, he's like, "You're a really good person to have," because I'm such a visual. I was like, he
Hmm.
had pages and pages of things that he had written, right? Because I'm
Hmm.
the same way, visual. It's probably the
Yeah.
artistic side in you there somewhere, right? So it's
Probably.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so okay, so thanks for sharing
Hmm.
that. And was it
Yeah.
in the same time frame that this occurrence happened with the out of body, or when did that happen?
It's probably about 5 years later. I had since graduated with my master's. I was in college, graduated, and met my first husband, and we got married very, very quickly and had a baby. And I was back to work and on my way to work in a vehicle that was so comfortable, it felt like driving like a, I don't know, buggy. So just like la 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 in my own little world. And I'm turning into work. And it wasn't until I started making the turn that I recognized there's a truck barreling towards me and we're going to connect. And
Wow.
he's way bigger than me. And it's probably time to say goodbye. Like, this is not going to happen. It went so slow motion.
Hmm.
Like, there's nothing you can do besides go, okay, I've had a great life. I hope my family's okay. I wish everybody well. I understand. I'm sorry I wasn't, I'm sorry I couldn't prevent this. That all these thoughts go through my mind, but I'm frozen. And so that's happening while I'm just going, this is the end. And, you know, I've had a good life. And as it's happening, I can't even tell you the exact sort of moment in there that it happened, but I thought I was dead. And suddenly I notice there's entities in the vehicle with me. And I'm like, and I know some of them from feeling like spirit guides in my life or meditative supporters in my life. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing here? And they're just like, it's not your time. I'm like, what? They're like, you're fine. Just, you're okay. We're with you. So I had three passengers. That's all that really would have fit in that car. All three of those were filled with guides that I'm familiar with. I don't realize I'm still in the car until I notice them there. And then I'm like, smash, right? Then it's smash. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, I'm not surviving this. You got to be kidding me. And actually, there were people. So I'm trying to turn this way. There's people watching this happen that I worked with, like in complete shock.
Mm,
They probably thought I'm dead too.
right.
And then there's this truck coming on, and I can see the dude in the truck like freaking out. He rolls down. I remember seeing his truck rolled, but ended up fine. Like everybody was fine. Nobody got hurt,
Wow.
physically hurt, but I'm
Hmm.
in complete shock. All I know is, holy, I survived. What the hell? And
Wow.
how did that happen? And in my belief system, I was like, that was a potential opportunity for me to leave. And it's not the right time for that to happen for me. So it didn't happen. Nothing happened to me. My car was totaled.
Hmm.
I went back to work in shock, thinking I could work. And people are like, nope, you don't get to work today. I'm like, why not? I don't get it. And they're like,
You,
just you're not working.
so you went right into work to go to work after your car was completely.
hmm
Wow.
I just wasn't present. I was like,
Hmm.
I don't know what just happened, but I wasn't awake yet
Hmm.
again.
Hmm.
I just was like, oh, let's just go about our business then. I survived.
So, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I appreciate you sharing that. It
hmm
seems like to me, so you didn't actually jump out and see anything from above. You were still witnessing the entities that were with you in the car in that slowdown time. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had a little conversation. It was relaxed.
Hmm.
They were telling me it's not my time to leave. They were there supporting me. They were like, it's okay, you're fine. Not your time to go.
See,
hmm
this is where I get kind of one of the things I've brought up in past shows is you hear about experiences where you might have somebody who's married to someone for 50 years, and when they become quite a bit older, one passes, and then within a few weeks, the other one passes, and they weren't even
hmm
expected to pass. Well, I mean, they're older, but at the same time, there
hmm
wasn't that same idea that this was happening or coming. And people go,
hmm
"How did that happen? How did that happen?" Right? And you know, not to freak people out, but I think that there's this thing within us that if we decide it's time, we can kind of just do that. You see animals
Yes.
do that, right? Animals, when they
Yes.
get kind of near the end of their life, they'll go crawl into a corner and they don't wake
hmm
up.
Yeah.
So what may have been happening in your case, again, because of the historical nature of who you are and the idea that you already see life as more as a, it's just different than the physical reality. There's more to it
hmm
that
hmm
you seeing this happening, you decided, okay, well, I've done what I've done here, and I guess it's time to go. And your soul may have been preparing for its departure, and then your angel team, your spirit guide, whatever people call them, right around you was like, hey,
hmm
wait a second, it's actually you're prematurely leaving. You can't, you're not supposed to go just yet. Is
Right.
that the way? Am I? I'm just trying to
You're
re.
interpreting it very, very well.
Mhm.
And I'm connected with my higher purpose. And I was engaged in a version of it at that time. I was a therapist at that point. And that's why I think, jumped when I did survive, I jumped back into, well, I must be here for my purpose. So I have people to see. So let's go. Let's bring them in. And my workmates are like, no, 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 no. That's not happening today. I'm
Well,
like,
you were
oh,
probably, I mean, you probably had a large amount of adrenaline going through you as well that you,
extremely,
yeah, that you survived it. And you're just
extremely.
like, okay, I survived. Let's go. I don't have trauma. I'm good. There's nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but but there is the human
hmm
that's still part, right? So you're almost living non-human at that point.
I was not in my body.
Yeah, you weren't acknowledging that you were probably gonna have a little bit of some PTSD from that. I mean, especially just driving and having that kind of thing
Yes, I
happen.
did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And whiplash
Wow.
too.
That's amazing. These
hmm
these these spirit guide that you
hmm
talk about, the people who were the spirits that were with you. Since then, have you had any other feelings or encounters, anything that kind of like brings them back into the storyline at all?
All the time.
Okay.
hmm I can tell you the most recent one that I
Sure.
can recall at the moment. Actually, it's probably not the most recent, but so one of the things I engaged in since 2011 and more significantly since 2018 is a spiritual program called Mastering Alchemy. So I've studied higher consciousness, the evolution of consciousness, energy work, in addition to my background as a therapist in mental health and healing environments and the other things you know about now. And so I went to a conference for Mastering Alchemy in 2024, just last year, I think. Yeah, last year, and in October. And when I got to Sedona, I'd never been there before. I had this experience where I felt like I was choking. And it's not something I would normally say. I'm choking, I'm suffocating. I feel like that's what I said. I'm suffocating.
Mm,
What a weird thing to say. I'm not used to desert. I'm a water person. I'm
mm,
coming to you right now, floating on my boat where I live. I'm a water girl.
Wow.
So I go into the desert. I feel like I'm choking, and I go, okay, let's have a little meditation about this. Let's ask about this choking situation. Now, this is a little alarming, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. So there was a guide. One of my guides was with me. In fact, I was guided to go to that part of the world. That's one of the reasons I went to the conference is I had a guide indicate that that's a place that would be good for me to visit.
Okay.
Okay, there's a conference there. That lines up. So I kind of connect with him and also with myself on this choking business. And I suddenly see myself in the meditation uh, being abducted as a young woman, not this physical embodiment, a different version of Michelle that was native and a young native healer at the time with like a little hut, with all my stuff in it. And, people would come for healing.
Mm.
And I was abducted by the locals, uh, men, and I won't get into, and they didn't show me the not so great parts of what that was like for me. But in the end, I was buried alive at the end of that experience. That's how I died, is I was literally, and I experienced the feeling of being underground and having the dirt literally bury me alive. Hence, I suffocated.
Wow. The
Crazy,
interest,
isn't it?
yeah, that is crazy. And the interesting, I've talked to many people in my life who have that memory or fear. And it makes me wonder if this happened occasionally or often in other lives, or it sounds like you jumped into another. This gets really complicated because it's either timelines or past life, future life, whatever it would be. I parallel
Right,
life, but it was a life
right.
that your soul somehow experienced or you were co-experiencing.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the place, in the part of the world where it occurred is kind of how it came up during a conference where I was again seeking an elevation in my higher consciousness. And
Mhm.
I resolved what I learned from the situation with the guide who was with me. We had a conversation. And he directed me, I wonder if I'm wearing it. Yeah. He directed me to go find a piece of jewelry, and I've got my infinity with me.
Mm,
That's my Sedona piece of jewelry that he's like, just you'll get something to remember this by and carry with you. And I'm with you. And I learned what I learned. And I also know that it's another version of how I'm a healer and have always been a healer or
right.
a therapist or a spiritual guide or an intuitive guide or what have you across dimensions and time and
Hmm.
lifetimes and timelines, all of it.
Well, that's beautiful. And this was when you were, and again, this is the same spiritual energy that you had felt in your car, one of the
One of
spirit
them.
guides.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. And you,
Hmm.
okay, so I'm a little bit curious about this mastery in alchemy, right? This
Okay.
if you don't mind if we go down that a little bit.
Not at all.
So, how did you first become aware of that?
Hmm.
Like how did it come into your life? Was
Yeah.
it just
Hmm.
through the meditation practices you were doing? I'm just wondering.
No, I was seeking a Reiki session from a friend of mine, and she was involved and knew me pretty well and said, I'm in this program and I think you would love it. Essentially, and I was like, what is it? And I went home and I looked it up and I started session one, and it was the co-founder, Jim Self, talking, and it was an immediate, like, oh, Jim, like mesmerized. His eyes mesmerizing, his voice, his tone, the way he speaks, mesmerizing. And
Mm,
I had never been religious or followed any particular spiritual path. I dabbled in a lot of things,
mhm.
but this felt like the path of home that I've been waiting for my whole life. That's how it felt.
And you continue to
Hmm.
practice in this. Well, I was curious
Yeah,
because I don't mean to jump all over the place, but
it's
when you
okay.
had the accident, you
Hmm.
said you were a therapist at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is that the route you continued to take? Did it shift in a different way?
Such a great question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what's happened from there.
Yeah. One of the things is I'm also a leader. And so my therapy quickly elevated to being a supervisor, a manager, a treatment director, an executive and operational director, an innovation, a strategic director. I was building healing environments for people with serious and persistent mental illness without homes. I've done a whole like course of things in the field for people of all ages in almost every setting where they're provided. Over that course in more management level work, I'm training other therapists, which I found to be very beneficial.
Hmm.
Um, and then in 2023, I had a trifecta of things happen. I graduated from Mastering Alchemy. I, the job I was in, that whole career that I had an opportunity to end and pause, and I took it because I knew it was an opportunity to level up my purpose.
Hmm.
So I let that go. 2 weeks later, my second husband, we're out on the boat where we go have our, I call it water therapy. We're out having a vulnerable conversation. We'd been exploring what to do with our marriage because we've disconnected. We're not close.
Yeah.
And we made a decision that day on the water to let it go. So in 2023, within 2 weeks, my career is paused, my marriage is ending, and we make the decision that I'll just keep the boat because that's where I like to be. That's where I now live in the summers. And even though it's my house that I've done everything to for my family, I'm ready to be done with that too. Like, I don't want to live on land anymore. I want to be right here
Wow.
and explore my higher purpose and step in more fully. That happened in 2023. Fast forward, now I've got a book series I wrote. So I've integrated all my learning into a book series. I'm teaching those energetic conscious courses around the world and working with individuals, alchemists and non alchemists alike, other leaders moving into their higher consciousness. And this is like now I'm in September. Oh, and I'm a partner with Mastering Alchemy too, one of the first partners. Um, but a few weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I got a lot of things happening in my world that are all very exciting, and I'd like another income source, is kind of how it started. And I went into a little personal exploration, very higher focused. And what aligned for me in that exploration was maybe I should go back to being a therapist again. I'm already licensed. I'm really good at it. I haven't done it in a while, but I bet I could help a lot of people.
Hmm.
So on Sunday, before Labor Day, I applied to betterhelp.com. Applied 2 days later, approved, background check, ready to go, caseload building. 2 days later,
Wow.
the following Monday, I started. My caseload is already full, and I've been seeing people. I'm in my second week, and every single encounter feels meaningful. Every single one.
Wow. Full circle.
So I'm a therapist again now.
Yeah. Full circle with, see, okay. The way that you've described the all the changes that happen, right? A lot of people have had NDEs, a lot of people have OBEs, NDEs, these spiritual enlightenment moments in their life. They recall these times where there's massive shift. Like everything, they'll either come back and it's like my life before is done. Everything is, like because I can't tell you the amount of people who've come back from an NDE and left their marriage or changed
Mhm.
careers or and people go, oh my gosh, like, hey, you're just having trauma. You just need to, no, no. And then they'll say the NDE was part of that transformation,
Right.
right? So like that all happened. In your case, you didn't really have kind of, I mean, you had the NDE, but
Mhm.
then you built into this alchemy, this practice of being able to kind of have these spiritual experiences. And so those kind of moments can really shift things fast because
Mm.
everything that served you before no longer serves you, a lot of the things.
Correct.
And it doesn't mean
Correct.
that it was for nothing. It just means it's almost like the
No,
end of a chapter, right? Like a chapter has a book and it
100%.
ends. and then it's on to the next
Yes.
chapter. Now, some chapters last a
Yes.
whole lifetime. Some chapters are very short-lived. So it just seems like
Mhm.
you change that over. And that's fascinating though, because now you have the other things behind you back to being a therapist, which is like your calling, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of if I'm, you know, I'm a musician, gotten into this spiritual work,
Uh-huh.
a lot of things going on in my life, and now I feel like music's kind of slowly kind of I can feel it integrating back in. And I'm going,
Uh-huh.
this is interesting. So there's certain parts of us that I think
Yeah.
stay together, but we almost go on trips to learn and grow and then come back with that growth. Does that
Yes.
does that resonate
That's
with?
very good.
Yeah.
And what I'll add to it, I think, is that the process of alchemy that I've been engaged with, transitioning, alchemy is just transitioning things from one form to another form, consciously engaging in transformation of matter, thought, emotion, spirit, consciousness, everything. If you want
Hmm.
to go up the whole chain, the amount of out of body, however you want to call it, experiences, I've learned all the layers of the bodies that I exist within. I can go to them at will, consciously, quickly, because I've studied me on all those layers and I know me on all those layers. And I'm still at a point of receiving more memory and more awareness because it just keeps growing and growing and growing. But it's a very significant, intentional, conscious decision to both ascend and descend.
Hmm.
Ascend to fully embody the soul, spirit, oversoul, whatever you want to call it, all those things. And then also to intentionally move those things back into the embodiment present. There, I'm here on all the levels.
Hmm. You mentioned something there about the layers of the body. I want to jump on that for a
Mm-hmm.
moment. I've had some really fascinating conversations with some people recently. I've had some NDEs and they've come back and explained the way the body is and their energetic body and
Mm-hmm.
how the energetic body can affect our physical body if we're
Mm-hmm.
not in alignment, almost as if we're not going after our true purpose or those things that kind of leads to I don't want to say it leads to disease and things like that, but it can cause a lot of chaos within our physical body.
Mm-hmm.
So, it, is there something that we can be doing in order to make sure that these layers of our body, these different pieces of who we are, whether it's energetic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
physical, that we can be doing in order to create kind of a homeostasis so that we
Mm-hmm.
are in alignment with our higher self? I'm sorry if that was
Yeah,
really complicated
I
way to
know where you're
explain it.
going with that. I
Yeah.
know exactly where you're going. Well, not exactly, but I get you.
Yeah.
The the things that I immediately assist people with is learning to be quiet because in quiet you get present. It's all the noise that interferes with being able to get present. And once you can get quiet and present, you can kind of turn on your awareness. Quiet, present, aware. That little trilogy. And the first layer of awareness that I support people with is becoming aware of where you're unconscious. You
Mm.
observe yourself in moments, you catch yourself, and you're like, that's not who I want to be. I'm just reacting right now. I'm not engaging in an intentional, conscious way aligned with who I really genuinely am right now. I'm on someone else's story. I'm reacting to some other energy. It is not mine. That's not me.
Mm.
So people have to get quiet enough to hear themselves. The noise and overwhelm that people experience in the world today is what every client that I have met in the last 2 weeks comes in with.
Mm.
No idea what to do. And I ask people, first of all, Envision what it looks like at the end of therapy before we start. Just imagine it and describe it. Set some goals related to it, just as a guide point. You can change it, but let's imagine, like, what do you want? Okay, good. Now we know a little bit where we're headed. Then I ask them to describe for me how they take care of themselves. I give them a huge assessment. Just go, just what do you do? What don't you do? What are you interested in doing? And they give me that information. 95% of the time, they're not eating, they're not sleeping, they're not exercising, they're not getting outside. They have no quiet time. They don't take breaks. They don't go on vacation. They don't breathe. They're not aware. I mean, I could go on and on. And we sort of like pick the things that would most ground them and quiet them so they could hear themselves. Like, you got to sleep. Let's work on that, you know? And
Yeah.
it's pretty fast. And we'll be reviewing something and I'll say, "Oh, so you had that experience of, you were engaged with someone today and they were having an issue and you helped them. What'd you say?" And they're like, "Well, I told them to breathe." And like they walked me through the whole thing. And I was like, and halfway through, they're smiling. And I'm like, "Did you just hear yourself?" And they're like, "Yeah." So it's
Right.
like, so it's in there. You
Mm-hmm.
just can't hear it. You're out here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
I guide people in here.
Right.
And
Right.
they go, "Oh my gosh, I know so much more than I thought I did." Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's start there.
And I love that. I can relate to so many people with busy minds. I have a busy mind. Music has been my meditation and my calmness. Music is what brings me stillness. I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning to try to find that without needing the music there. Not that I love how music is part of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I know how physically draining being constantly busy, especially with social media nowadays. We were just talking about the tragedy that
Yep.
happened yesterday, people taking that on themselves, not instead of being, you talked about how we are aware of what's happening. It doesn't take away how tragic it is and how it's very sad. But where the problem is when people insert themselves into the situation and they are
Mm-hmm.
that situation. Now you're taking
Yes.
on the trauma and the drama and the trauma of everybody around you,
Yes.
and that's physically harming not only to your physical but energetic self, right? So
Every layer.
so stopping and calming your mind and being quiet, I love that. So that's something that
Mm-hmm.
you probably is maybe was that a natural thing? Is that why you've been so in touch with things even as a kid? I'm wondering.
No,
No?
that's a mastering alchemy learning.
Okay.
It was the missing sort of piece for me. And when I found mastering alchemy and I say it felt like home, it's because I found that in a conscious way, not in an accidental or random experience I couldn't explain. I found it and I intentionally practiced it. So now it's a reference point I can go to in one breath. I can see something around me. I know it's not mine. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, what do first of all, I get neutral. It's not my experience. Second of all, not everyone needs me in their business, wants me in their business. If
Right.
they do indicate, "Hey, could you help me for a minute?" Sure. If it makes sense to do that for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
choice. But I'm aware of where I am and what I'm holding, and I've cleared a lot out, which is an important piece too. All the stuff I was unconsciously holding, I've
Mm-hmm.
intentionally cleared that out to open up for me to fully embody my chosen energies that align with who I actually am, what my purpose is.
Mm-hmm. And I was gonna
Mhm.
say teachers, coaches, therapists, that's where you can find people to help you clear those things out. Because so many people harness them inside and they don't know how to actually go inward to find them. I'm a big proponent of hypnotherapy. I think it's a beautiful thing that
Mhm.
if people need. I'm trying
Yep.
to learn my way through it. I'm getting better at it. And I think it's just all these different practices, right?
Hmm.
We need to be aware of that because if we don't heal that, it's still there. It's lingering constantly. And
Yeah.
so many people tell me the biggest thing I take away from all these shows or all these episodes is the idea of meditation. Everyone really says this is a very important piece. And I say to myself, do I treat meditation the same way I would with my diet, let's say? Meaning, do I just eat one thing really good all day and then don't eat well all day? Meaning, do I just take that 10 minutes and have a moment of silence and then go chaotic all day? Or do I try to learn how to be kind of still throughout the day, but not leave this like I still have to be human, have my interviews and coaching and clients and work and family life and you still have to do these things, but
Hmm.
do you try to stay consistent is what I'm trying to get at with this
Got
feeling
it.
through the day?
Got
Or is
it.
it something that you tell people to just, oh, take an hour a day or 20 minutes a day?
Yeah. Well, it depends where your practice is at. It's a practice. And so if you've never done it before and you get distracted and it's a challenge to do, just start with 5 minutes. There are so many cool meditations on YouTube. Find one, pick one that you like, and just do it for 10 minutes. It's already there for you. You got the visual, you got the audio. There are so many available. Go pick one. Just
Well,
start. Once you start, you'll find if you're aligned with how that works for you, you'll find you want more because
mhm,
it feels good and you hear yourself. And it's like, oh, and you start to find things about yourself and you're like, okay, this is what I've been needing.
mhm.
And
And
then
that,
you expand to the word I use is cohesive or coherent. The more you can maintain it, the more you are energetically coherent and you can call up whatever you need in the moment. Before this interview, I wrote down joy, peace, and ease.
mm,
Those are the three energies I'm coming into this interview with. I set myself for it.
wow.
And anytime I go into a session, I kind of clear where I've been, come back to me, and I go, okay, what's the next thing I'm doing? I'm meeting this person. All right, what's the energies for that? I'm at a point where I don't have to think about it. I just go, oh, this would be good for right now. And
Right.
I put it in place and I go into the next thing. It's a lot more intentional practice otherwise until you get to the point where you know
Hmm.
without trying.
So setting intentions until that becomes an automatic piece of who you are, which I get,
Mhm.
I get so deep with this stuff, but I think a lot of this is we're not, as kids, we're not taught this stuff. We're
Mm,
taught, I'm not totally against the education system things, but I think there's so much more we could be teaching kids and getting
yes,
them ready for life and prepared for life to give them
yes,
a much better grounding of who they are throughout their life instead of
yeah,
having to try to find yourself so much throughout your adulthood because you have all this fun
mhm,
when you're a kid and then all of a sudden you get adolescent adulthood and you're like, what is this? Why did I sign up? Where do I leave? And that's
exactly.
not what we want. We want to be able to be set to have this life that we're
Yeah.
making huge impacts and setting intentions. I love that. Starting with a 10-minute meditation. I'll take that advice too. I do
Mhm.
go into my own meditation, but for the audience listening, it's these moments. I've been blessed to have the music, something that calms me. Some people don't
Yes.
have that. They're just
Right.
wired all the time. And it's
Yeah.
important to be able to take a pause.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question I ask a lot of NDE people, but you haven't, it's a different kind of NDE you've had. But
Sure.
from a scale, and it's an odd question, but it's something I'm always curious
Mhm.
about. From a scale of 0 to 10, 0 meaning there's no way, 10, absolutely. How sure of you or certain of you that we exist beyond this physical realm?
10,
Right.
11, a
11.
thousand.
Yeah. So because you've had, and I know I ask it only because a lot of these people I talk to have had really dramatic experiences. They've literally had
Yes.
they've been toe tagged or like just really crazy experiences. You, on the other hand, have had just kind of popping out, just moments of, right. So you're still grounded to this beingness of who you are, this human, and yet
Mhm.
you've felt or witnessed something that is beyond the human, and you still
Mhm.
do, and you practice. So I'm just always curious what someone's
Hmm.
feeling is towards that, right? Because there's a lot of
Hmm.
fear around. I mean, this is why there's such tragedy and trauma when we see things that happen bad in the world. But if we can kind of become still with who we are and understand we're bigger than this physical, there's so much
Hmm.
more that we can
Yeah.
accomplish.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted
Yeah.
to know that. Yeah. Where do
Yeah.
people find your information? Like who, like is, I'm a little,
Yeah.
you do so many things. So I'm curious, do you have
I
like
do.
a website or anything like that? Or there's
I have a
books
lot
that
of
you've talked
things.
about? Yeah. Yeah.
So my link tree is my favorite place because it links to all the podcasts that I do. So this podcast will be there eventually. It links to my book, and it's a book series. So the second, third, fourth, up to the 11th book, like that, they'll come out one after the next. The first book is out now. It's behind me. Flow in the Present series. It's called Resilience, and it's
So,
about going from survival to thriving, like the
mm,
energies of just getting conscious of unconscious to start with. Mhm. Also, it has all the links to my website, my services, my social media, like just one place, and you can kind of pop around from there.
perfect. Well, I'll make
Yeah.
sure I put the link tree link in all
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
descriptions of the show so people
Yeah.
can find your information. I love, here I am thinking to myself, yeah, you were talking about how you're a visual person. And then I said, oh yeah, you have creativity in there because I'm a musician. So I'm just witnessing it and I'm acknowledging it. But then now you're like, yeah, you write books. Anybody who's a writer is very creative in their mind, right? It's the way
Hmm.
that you've expressed
Hmm.
yourself. So, I
I
love
have a
that.
story about that you'd like.
Sure.
The first book I ever wrote was in my 20s. I'm in my later 20s. I'm in Colorado in my master's program for counseling psychology. And in the middle of the night, here again, while I'm sleeping, a lot happens while we sleep. That's a whole nother podcast. But anyway, while I'm sleeping in poetry for whatever reason. Poetry. And in my sleep, in physical, I'm repeating the words in my head so I can wake up and remember them
Mm.
until I have the epiphany. Just get up and write them down. Done. Just go do it. So I wake up. I'm still in a sleep state, but I wake up. The poetry's fresh. I just write them all down. Eventually, I publish my own book, Harmony Publishing, my own company. And it's a book of poetry that's sort of it, what's the best word? It expresses and resolves a lot of my issues from childhood into young adulthood. And it's the first experience of hearing my voice that was coming to me in sleep. Like, again, like, hey, here I am, hey. And so it came out into a book. That was the first book back in my 20s. This book series, after I graduated Mastering Alchemy, I'm living on a boat now. It's Minnesota. It gets cold. The boat comes out of the water. Now, what are you going to do? I let my house go. I don't have a career. I'm not married. I don't have a place to live, but I have a conference again for Mastering Alchemy, this time in San Diego. And I go to that conference and I've got the rest of the winter to figure myself out, dig in, get aligned. And what ended up happening is in about February, I met Deepika Sandhu, who's an author, a best-selling author, and now also the CEO of Soul Sparks Press. And we have a conversation because we have a similar trifecta experience. She wrote a book about it and she encouraged me to write my story. I started writing. She sent me to a particular book coach to help me because I don't know how to organize my thoughts into a book. I'm just all over the place, just writing.
Right.
And I ended up with the book coach. I used the practice of getting really conscious and intentional to allow all of the wisdom of me that I've experienced and know to kind of flow from my higher conscious into the book. And even if I
Mm.
found myself expressing things that were not higher conscious, that were coming out unconscious, I just cut them. I didn't even think about it. I just highlight, cut. Nope, nope, that's out.
Right.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in 12 weeks, I wrote 80,000 words in that process.
Wow.
So instead of one book, The 11 chapters became 11 books. Every book is an energetic experience and how it progressed, starting with resilience and moving its way up through all the layers of energy I've experienced, and how a person can tap in and create for themselves. Start with the basics and keep moving it through. So that's
Mhm.
what I'm doing. And I call it, the whole series is Flow in the Present. My business, well, it is called Spirit of Therapy. My coursework and what I do is I teach your energy your way. So,
Wow.
regardless, we all do it different.
Hmm.
Cool.
Absolutely cool. And it
Yeah.
completely aligns with my whole life of writing music because you said something really fascinating because when I write a song that doesn't align with that feeling that it came from something bigger, I can't, I just can't grab a hold of it. And I've thrown away so many songs for an album. I'm like, no, that's not going to go on the album because it's not in alignment with something that was true. It was just me
Right.
trying to make a hit or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. People I want to do that, but
Right.
that's not for me. And so it
Mm.
sounds like the writing came from that same place. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to have
That's,
that listed. And the poetry story is really fascinating too, because like you
yeah,
got up and just wrote it. That's so neat.
I did. I'll
Yeah.
tell you this last little thing because it ties those two together. In my
Mhm.
book, each book has some poetry in it. And I would have these urges while writing to pull up my old poetry and I'd read it and I'd be like, oh, that's not quite right anymore. So in some cases, I have the original version and then what it reads like now. I
Right.
transposed my 20-year-old conscious, unconscious poetry into my now conscious poetry and how
Right.
it shifts.
Mm. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when I write, sometimes I'll read it back and go, wait, what was I trying to say? And I go in and I can realign it because I know what was coming. So
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing. So you're just reinterpreting what you were
Yeah.
feeling at the time.
It's like, what are the right words, the right sounds, the right
Yes.
alignment for how this should flow, feel, sound
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never like really sat and related to like a writer in this way. Because music writing is just a bit different because
Mm-hmm.
I use the sound of the music and then freestyle, but it's very similar in a sense because you're pulling from something and all fascinating stuff. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one quick question. It could be
Okay.
2 words or a sentence. I ask
Mm,
everyone at the end of my shows if there is this afterlife, if there is this other place that we go to, other dimensional places of who we are, what is our grand purpose as to why we come here and do this thing?
mm.
Why do we do
Yeah.
this?
So we each have a unique purpose. That's the answer. I
Okay.
can't tell you what everybody comes here for. I can tell you what I come here for. I'm a harmonizer. The harmonizer means I assist people in completing what's not of value and helping them let it go and opening to their own harmony, their own uniqueness, their own voice. So they step forward on their path. That's my role. Mm-hmm.
So we all have a unique gift that we're going after, a unique purpose as to what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very true.
Mm-hmm.
And there's got to be something even deeper than that. I keep trying I'm seeking it.
Oh,
But
you want that? Oh, I
yeah,
can go another level.
yeah.
So the other level is that there's the thought that thought you into existence. The thought that thought you into the existence is the spark of you that is divine. Your unique light, sound, tone, existence is your godliness.
Hmm.
You're here to express your godliness, your divinity, specific to you, only you. And it sparked, and you went, all right, that's what I'm doing. That I got it.
Right.
And then you come here and you completely forget it.
Right. That's right.
So the journey is finding it.
Finding it. That's right. It's the amnesia I always call it. We have the amnesia right
Yeah.
away, and then it's
Yeah.
trying to seek our way
It's
back.
the grand experiment on
Yeah.
this experience
Yeah.
at this point. But also, we're progressing, right? The world is becoming more conscious. The planet is becoming more conscious.
Mm,
Our awareness of all of these topics on your show that we've talked about today are becoming more conscious. Kids come in conscious,
mm.
especially since 2012. All these kids know more than we know they know. If you've ever talked to one of the young kids and they're one of my, I don't want to say too much because it's someone I know, but their daughter and I had a conversation when she was very little, and she would talk about her other family. Yeah, my other family, blah, 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 blah. And her parents were like, she's talking about her other family. And I'm like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right.
She knows. She doesn't know she knows because she's a little girl, but she
Right.
does know. We do know, but we forget it or it gets shocked out of us, or people tell us, our parents, we listen to all that and absorb it and become it
Hmm.
until we go, wait a minute. That's not
Hmm.
me. That's all you. I'm living for you guys. Uh-uh. I'm living for me. Thanks. Love you, but
Yeah. I love this conversation, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming on.
thank you.
It's been deep. This is one of the reasons why I do it the way I do it. And I try not to dig too deep because we go in all these different directions. But I always reach out to the audience at the end of the show and please say, continue to like, share, and subscribe to The Soul Inspired so I can get amazing guests like Michelle on. If you like the episode or you think it's going to affect someone you know, please share it. And definitely reach out to Michelle. I'm sure she'd be happy to reach out. But thank you so much
Absolutely.
for being
Thank
on. I
you.
really
I loved
appreciate
being
it.
here. It's really great to speak with you, and I'd be happy to come back another time because there's a lot we could talk about.
Oh,
It's really
absolutely.
fun.
There's about 10 other episodes. That's right. Thank you
We
so
got
much.
time.
Yes, exactly.
So